Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another devlog video. I hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. This time I wanted to talk about the editor for my game. So my game is made in Monogame, which is a C# framework which handles drawing and input and sound. Basically all the basics that you need to build your own game or your own game engine. Now, I also use NES, which is a really nice framework, which adds an entity component system. If you don't know what that is, I'm gonna show you while I explain the editor. So, if you press escape, you can see the editor. So the editor is not actually part of Monogame or part of NES, it's something I built myself. So, on the right hand side, you can see all the objects in the objects pane. So the camera, editor entity, which is actually the entity that draws the editor itself. A player spawn, which decides where to spawn the player. A tile map, which you can see the mountains, those are tiles. And Susie, so we can select Susie, for example. Let's move her over here. So now you can see the blue rectangle, which means she is selected. And it also opens up the inspector when you click here. So the inspector shows all the components that Susie has. So Susie is an entity, and an entity has components. And the components kind of define what the entity is. So every component has a transform, every entity has a transform. So the transform component basically has all the information about the spatial properties of the entity. So if you move, you can see the little x here change. So the x becomes bigger when we go to the right. The y becomes smaller if we go up. And you can actually change these values. So if I change it to 40, Susie will move up, since 40 is higher up on the screen. So Susie has a bunch of other components, like a retro rigid body, which is my own physics component. It handles velocity and basically all the physics. And I called it a retro rigid body since I'm building a retro game. So if you think of Mario is not based on real life physics. Would be fun if we could jump super high and break bricks with our heads, but unfortunately it's not real. So it's kind of a retro rigid body. So the way Susie moves up the slope, she doesn't slide down. It's kind of retro-ish, so I called it a retro rigid body. So yeah, what else does she have? She has a tile entity, which means she can interact with the tile map. She has a box collider, which defines how she collides with stuff. And then there's a jump component, so you can jump. So what's nice with the editor I made is that you can change the values on the fly. So if I change this value, search power to 5, it defines how high she can jump. So we can, while playing, we can edit all the properties and see what feels nice, kind of tweak values. And that's not only for Susie, that's for any object that will exist in the world. So let's say there's an enemy, we can actually just drag where to place the enemy, and we can choose how fast can it walk, how much damage will it do, stuff like that. So that's really nice. So yeah, I can actually show you, we can just create a new object just for demoing purposes. So it says here on the right side, new entity. And if you're wondering why is this name in blue and the other ones are in white, the blue names are the ones that are saved to a file. So Susie actually gets spawned via code. Since Susie is dynamic, there might be more characters later on in the game, so she gets spawned dynamically. She's not actually part of the stage itself. But this new object that we created actually is part of the stage. So yeah, let's create something. I don't know what, just something. So right now the new entity is just a hollow box of nothing. It just has a transform, an editor entity, which means the editor can actually edit it, and there's an ID component which is used to define its unique idea, which is used later when we save the stage. So we can actually change the name. Let's call it box. So now in the objects panel you can see it's also updated to box, and this little drop down has all the components currently in the game. So there's a whole lot of them, a lot of NES components. So here you can actually see what kind of things NES can do. NES does the camera stuff, it can show a model, and if we scroll further down there's some more NES horn, which is my own framework. So let's add a sprite, which is actually part of NES. So we chose sprite, we choose add, and here you can see all the constructors. And constructor is in programming the thing you use to create a new object. So here we can use sprite subtexture constructor, which asks for a subtexture, and a subtexture is basically a part of a sprite. So let's see, here are all the sprites currently in the game. You can see all the tiles are there, and you can see all the player sprites are there, and logo, and this box. Let's use this box just because it's simple. So we press create, and now the box object has a sprite component with this little subtexture, and we can move it around. You can see the blue rectangle has adjusted to the shape of the sprite. So we can move it, but if we move it along Susie, nothing actually happens, and maybe we want Susie to interact with this box somehow. So let's find my physics objects. It's kind of hard to navigate this list. I should probably tweak that a bit. Let's see, 8-box collider, which is my physics box collider object that I made for my own physics engine. So we can use the constructor xi with height to create a box. I want the box to be 48, since I know that that's about the size of this box. Let's create it. So now there's a 8-box collider in the inspector. So nothing visually changes, since the 8-box collider is not a visual component. But if we turn on debugging, you can see this red square, which is the actual collider. So you can already see something's not right, and that's because the local offset is incorrect. Let's change that to 0. Or if you're wondering what happens if we put an incorrect value, then we can see Susie can interact with the box in the incorrect position. So just change it to 0 and move this here. And now the box is interactable because it has a collider. Now it doesn't actually collide with the tiles, since it has no, let's first put off debugging first, since it has no tile entity like Susie has. But let's not make things too complicated, let's keep it like this. So now there's a nice little box that Susie can interact with. And then if we press Ctrl S, it will permanently save this box to the level. So if I reload this level next time, the box will be here. Nice, right? So what else can the editor do besides handling entities? So there's a little layer window here, which are all the tile layers. So let's add a layer just for fun. So new layer, we can press the little E. Let's change the name to background layer, or let's make it underscore. And then there's a bunch of values that we will use later. Let's move this box out of view since it's in the way. So in the top left here you can see all the tiles that are purely added to the game. It's kind of small, I hope you guys can see. I will try to zoom in a bit. So there's the floor tile, which you can see over here, and we can create a new piece of floor. This is not a really convenient position. Let's add a piece of floor here, and then Susie can jump. Oh, I forgot we modified the jump. We can jump up here. Let's change the jump back. I think it was 1.8. And now we can jump like normal again. So yeah, this is the default tile, which you will see in most places of the game. And this tile is solid, so you cannot move through it. But each tile may have different predetermined properties. So this one, actually, we can paint it like this, and you can go through the bottom and land on top, like this. And what's nice about these tiles is if you draw, they will actually automatically put all the corners in the right place, and you don't have to pick out all the corners yourself, which is really slow. It really helps to speed up the level design. Yeah, so, oh, I accidentally removed Susie. Let me reboot the game. So I just rebooted the game, and you can see the box is still here. Seems like we didn't save after we modified the local offset. Let's move it over here since we don't need it. So yeah, we were talking about the tiles. Let's try to make the scene look a bit nicer. So we will add the background tile, background layer again. Since we didn't save after we added that one, background layer. Layer index 1. Not quite sure what's front, what's back. Been a while since I used it. So we can use this tile that I actually made just for background purposes. So let's see, can Susie interact with it? No. Since it's on the background layer, she cannot interact with this tile. So we can add some of these slopes to just add a bit of flavor to the background. This blue is kind of boring, right? So maybe we can actually add another one here. Oh, seems like I'm on the wrong layer again. Oh, background layer. Not sure when I selected the other layer. So let's add another hill here. And you can see it already looks way better, a lot less empty. So another one here. Then maybe like a huge one here, just to give you the impression that it's a really high gap that you're gonna make from here all the way to there. You might see this huge hill and think, whoa, I'm really high up in the air. Yeah, that looks nice. It still looks a bit flat though, don't you think? Still looks like you're looking at just a picture, so we can actually modify some of the properties. So there's a parallax property, and what that does, it gives you a bit of depth. So if the camera moves, the background moves along. I think this is a bit too extreme maybe. put it a bit lower. Yeah, and now there's a nice bit of depth effect. We can see there's still some blank spots. Let's cover those. Yeah, looks nice. Gives the scene a bit more depth. Now we can also, let's first press Ctrl S and save. Now let's add another layer. Layer 0, press the edit button again and call this the ornaments layer. And that's just gonna be, oh, I pressed something and now something weird is happening. Sorry about that. So the ornaments layer, we can use that to just decorate the level a bit more. So maybe we can add some tiles here. And let's change the depth so that it appears in front of Susie. Not sure what the depth is. Or maybe this doesn't work, I don't know. Ignore what I said. I guess it doesn't work yet. Oh wait, I'm changing the foreground layer. And now I just deleted Susie. Let me restart the game again. So I just restarted the game and you can see everything is still here. The background tiles, this weird little box. So let's add that ornament layer again. So let's call this ornaments. And we can use that layer to just decorate everything a tiny bit. So some grass here. Some grass maybe here. Yeah, just a small little thing to decorate the stage. You'd be surprised how much it adds. Maybe some of these weird USB flower things. You might think, what the hell is that thing? But I will explain. When the game gets along a bit further, I will explain what the thing is with what the deal is with the USB and this window and this folder. It all makes sense. So let's see. So this ornament layer is now behind Susie. Maybe we can actually add it to the front. I'm not sure if this works yet. -2, -3, -4. I guess it doesn't work yet. So I will need to edit that in the future. You can also make things appear in front of the player, so it will give this really nice depth effect. So yeah, let's press Ctrl S, save the scene, remove the editor. Oh, I still see a tiny little mistake here. Let's edit that. Okay, press Ctrl S again to save it. And now we can just play the stage with our new tiles. Looks a lot better, right? It really does add a lot to the game. So yeah, that's pretty much the editor that I have till now. There's still a bunch of things that needs to be worked on. Actually, during the capturing of this video, I had to restart a few times since there were crashes and bugs, but it's all still work in progress. But you can see that it's working well enough to at least prototype and work on the game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the overview of the editor. I'm really happy with it personally. I don't really enjoy working on editors and physics and stuff like that. I just want to make games, but the end result really is worth it. It gives me complete freedom of how to make the game and how things work behind the screen, and yeah, it's getting somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully next week things will be back to normal and I can show you some new features. So thanks for watching and see you again next time. Bye.